Hello, we're here on the original ShrubSMP within the world download. And I'm, as you can see, in creative mode, hovering above, just outside of our spawn city, where it all started. Well, technically this isn't exactly where it all started. There were I believe it were 2 worlds, maybe even more, 2 or 3, maybe definitely 1 or 2 worlds that were multiplayer worlds that the community enjoyed up till this particular year and season when we started the official ShrubSMPs. And this is the official Season 1 server. I've brought it down in a world download. It was created in version 1.16.5. I've opened it up in version 1.20.1 to be able to explore the world. But that's what we're going to do today. We're going to explore the major attractions and builds here in Spawn Town and some other areas on the world. And I thought that would be a nice little way to do an interlude in between seasons, is to stop off at these different worlds that we've had now so far while we wait for Season 7 to be complete. It will be complete soon, because the builders are hard at work getting the spawn put together, and our administrators getting ready to make sure that all of the mods and the add-ons are at the current version that we want, so that we can play the most modern version of Minecraft, which includes the trial chambers, and that's going to be a lot of fun. But that's when Season 7 comes around. In the meantime, we're going to go down just below us and start this world tour. Alright, so I'm starting here at the exact world spawn in, fittingly, a creeper hole. So, as was the way that we had things set up around here is, it was very dark at the world spawn, that I am here just a little bit outside of that spawn village that we have in the spawn city. And there are creeper holes. There's one in my back over here, and there's one here. But this is what it looked like. This is where we spawned, and there's another creeper hole there. They're just creeper holes everywhere because there were monsters like crazy until we got established for the first couple of days, and then once more people started spawning in and heading out to get their starter areas built. But creeper holes are something that was kind of fun to have new players spawn in, and you would see the game message saying that they were destroyed by a creeper because they just happened to land on one. Look at there's more holes over here from getting chased. There's one there. So this is the spawn, and where is it? It's just off, oh, in that direction. We can see, if I just zoom in, there's some of the builds that we just saw a moment ago in Spawn Town. So we're going to head over there and check out my starter area, but right after checking what spawn looked like. So I am in creative mode. We're going to take a quick fly around and show that a lot of it has been destroyed. So, as is tradition on some Minecraft worlds, when you first join in and you have these like very localized spawn builds, by the end of the season they get completely blown up. This large crater over here, I think those bricks may have actually been my starter house. I had this like little rectangular starter building. I guess I had some materials and things in there, and I think I even had like a sheep farm, or it might even been chickens, because I see some free-range chickens over there. But this may have been my starter area, and it's completely destroyed now. I didn't do it. I did know who did do it. I didn't mind. They asked permission, of course, ahead of time if everything around spawn could be subject to random TNT explosions, and that's what happened to this guy. Alright, so now we're going to head over to the spawn city itself, and I'm standing on the what used to be the entrance to this bridge, and there was a builder on the server that built this really cool feature that basically just started off as a cobblestone bridge. It was a long cobblestone bridge that went all the way directly to spawn, which is where we're going to head right now. But at the end of the season, it was the subject of the TNT explosions, and the exit is still in place, so we'll kind of hop down here and walk down as if we were walking in for the first time to the city. And there's some welcoming here. You got from free maps, so some updated maps to the area. This is a large map, including, like, this is regional. And of course, we all love birch wood on this server, or at least half of us do, and half of us don't. That's the subject of a different debate. But welcome to the village, and I forget naming the mayor Brutus. I don't remember that one, but there's the mayor, and there's some maps if you wanted to take one and bring it to your home. So as we get started here, we look around. There's plenty to do. Oh, the causeway, that's what it was called. Yeah, so this bridge was called the causeway. There's plenty of structures, but what we're going to do is we're going to hop over in that direction on the other side of that cube and do a little tour of my very first starter home, well, except for that one that got blown up. Alright, we're down here, well, I'd say in the basement, but it turns out, as you'll see really quickly, my first base kind of was a basement. Being close to spawn, I just kind of went off a little bit, we'll see when we get to the surface, and dug into the side of a cave, and that's where I kind of got my start over here. this is where it is. Just south of spawn there is where my little structure into the building. So right now we're right where this green character is, underground, and we'll see when we go out front about what the front yard, I guess you could say, looks like. And it's kind of the beginning of my Minecraft journey. I wasn't really the best builder in the world at this time, even though I had played in 2 previous worlds. I just kind of, my style was to dig into a mountain, create a little space that we're going to take a look at now, and then play with everyone else on the outside of the server and go to destinations. I did some traveling in this season, as we will see. But in the basement here we have just a very simple, I think this was a melon farm to be able to trade with farmers, and a design that I still use today that's hiding behind the painting here is the bamboo farm. It's just a very simple observer and piston bamboo collection. The ever popular cactus farm that I use in every season, and it's very funny when I looked at this later. Look at all that green dye. Wow. So I use it as a clock, so to speak. And depending on how long the season goes and how often I'm nearby, the cactus will, of course, like show how many full stacks it gets. Well, these all used to be full stacks. That's kind of crazy to look at it now. We must have been in this world for quite some period of time. But on the other hand, I'm so close to the spawn that, when other players are around, all this stuff is active. So that also makes sense as well. But yeah, just a little side alcove here to grow some things locally in my little basement. There's the stairs that lead upstairs, and we'll go check that out in a moment. We obviously have a portal, which we'll check out when we do the nether side, and my first enchantment setup. Now, on this server, we had player heads enabled, and when you killed mobs, you had a chance that they would drop them. And when I raided a woodland mansion, I was able to get a handful of drops from those monsters as well. The inhabitants, the most interesting of which, and I think the coolest thing, I like this little gold collar on him, the Evoker. They're kind of the most spooky and one of the most difficult mobs to deal with in a woodland mansion. So this head is kind of floating over the book. So it's kind of an indication that he's this powerful magic user, and I've somehow harnessed his power to be able to use in my enchanting. Here we have another of my popular starter area setups. Is just a quick little chicken growing and collection area. So these chickens are just kind of hanging out on top of hoppers, and the hoppers constantly are collecting the eggs. And then what you do is you throw the eggs against the wall. It's no more difficult than that. And eventually, it's not going to happen, watch. It didn't happen. 1 out of 6, oh, I'm in creative mode. I was going to say 1 out of 16 chance, but it's not reducing my inventory because I'm in creative mode. But yeah, so we saw obviously some chickens hatch, and I go around about my business, and then I come back, and well, when we need food, so some of them have to turn into raw chicken, if you know what I'm saying. But a very humble abode, shall we say, on the inside, because this is pretty much it. We only got 2 more features to show, and then we're going to head outside and see the front yard. Alright, so you always need basic storage in your starter home, and this is exactly what I have here. Just started off by making chests, and then eventually as you start to fill them up with materials, you organize them with different ways. This is where I first incorporated kind of like an auto smelting system. So you see I have bamboo in here and a chest that feeds, and up above here is the same farm. You can't see it, but it's hidden. The same farm that we just looked at over here. It's the same bamboo farm, but they're above here, and they feed into this hopper system that then feeds the... And look, I still had more green dye over here. Ah, yes. Regret that experience. But, so... Oh, and some stone, too. What was I leaving? Why did I leave in such a hurry? So... That's how you smelt the stuff up and feed the automatic fuel. And again, because we're so close to spawn, those things would stay pretty full. Wow, you can see they're really full right now. And they fill up and they back up. And that means you can basically have as much smelting as you need. The last feature down here is really just something I added on as an extension. A little bit of a luxury room. Like, this is the room you come in to hang out with. You got this tropical fish aquarium. So, the inhabitant here, me, has this great aquarium collection of rare tropical fish in their own little biome here, using the sea blocks, because it definitely was later in the season, because I certainly didn't get out to an ocean monument anytime soon. But when I did, I was able to collect the blocks and come in here and create this cool little feature. And I love using kelp blocks. That's what I made out of the ceiling, and it definitely gives a cool pattern and a little bit of texture, something different to walls and ceilings. So again, because this is sea-based and water-based, it just definitely went with the theme. But that's it. I mean, that's the starter area. Very, humble abode, shall we say, and let's go outside and see then, once we had the inside dug out, what the outside looked like over the course of the season. So we head up to the stairs, and we're just going to pass quickly just a little themed brewing station that I made here with some of the nether blocks again, and head on up to head out the doors. Now, as we exit the doors, this will give you an idea how long this server was in place and about what we have dates. We have these little dioramas that I had outside my entrance about different activities that we did on the server. And one of the cool things we do on the server is to destroy the dragon with an innocuous item like salmon. So we just get up and we punch it, we punch it, we punch it until it's demise, and then in this case we use the salmon. And I memorialized that with a little diorama. So once I had this in place, I said I'm going to do that every time we have some type of event. And let's just quick review some of the events that we have here on the server. Anvil Roulette. This is a game I had never heard of before, but when I got to experience on the server, I think it's one of my more favorite things, and I'd like to maybe bring it back in Season 7. But anyway, so the point of the game is you kind of build an underground dungeon, and everybody, the server owner Will made one, and all the players on the server had this community event. And what it was is you basically, it's kind of like Duck Duck Goose or musical chairs, is some of these setups, you basically have closed door. Now you can't, there would be a wall here, you couldn't see, this is kind of seeing behind the curtain here. But what it is some of the anvils are in place and some of the anvils are not in place. And what happens is when a player walks into the door and closes the door behind them, and all the players do this, and now you're in one with or without an anvil. Well, the only way to figure it out is to break the sand. And when you break the sand all at once, is a countdown, 1, 2, 3, break sand. I'm not going to do it now because I can't demonstrate it, but what happens is then the anvil comes down and squish you, and if you're not wearing any armor, you are sent to your demise. So a handful of players would be knocked out, and you keep doing that until there's a winner. And that was a really fun event, and I think it's really cool, and it's something I probably want to do again in the future. So this little diorama memorializes the scavenger hunt, and that was really fun. It was like basically an Easter egg hunt, in which, and we'll pass it, we'll go just behind my base, we'll show you in this just a second, but the reason these player heads are here is that was part of the prize. So the idea was, the clue was called Get Shulked, or Shulked, for Shulker Box, and the different clues kind of led you to be searching for different Shulker boxes throughout the world, and when you found them, if you found the right one, it would have kind of reveal on the inside the fact that you won. There'd be a little piece of paper, I think it was the duplicate of it, if I remember right, and your prize. And my prize was one Shulker box full of Shulker heads. So I'm like, what am I going to do with this? It wasn't the most valuable prize in the world, but I did make use of it, and we'll see that in just a little bit when we go outside. Now, I held my own little event as part of a build that we're also going to see when we're out there, is I held a little enchanted elytra auction, because not everybody had the chance to go out and explore after the dragon fight, and there were a lot of elytras captured. One of the things on a multiplayer server is the longer you wait to go out there, the harder it is to find your own elytra. So what I did was I captured a couple extra, and I wanted to auction one off. So I went ahead and set up a little dispenser where people could drop their bids, and it turns out Fox Magica with 184 diamond bid won that elytra, with 150 in second place and 94 at 11 there. It was kind of a fun little thing to organize, have this little auction, and this memorializes it with the theme. Now, the theme is where our next destination is, because that was my major build just outside the spawn city. Actually, before we check that out, we got to check out the outside, the front gates here, so to speak. So as I walk out front, before I turn around, you're going to see I got my little mailbox right there. You're going to see these two towers, and this is it. Like, this is the entrance to my base. So when we take a look back, you'll see it's not much more than this. I just made a bunch of stone bricks and put them in some patterns with a little bit of depth and detail. But this was it. I mean, and I did get a dragon head too, so I had to throw that up there. But it's just this little alcove entrance. And if I turn around and look in front of me, this is kind of the front yard. Again, not much to it, but as we go around and take a look at some of the features, we'll see that there's one of every growing thing around, and including my walkway here, framed by some of these, the nether trees and the end trees, or at least the end chorus fruits to be precise. But so there's one of everything that grows all around, and that's something that I've done in every Minecraft world I've ever been in, is close to my starter area. There's always one of something. There's one of everything if I can manage it. I built these pumpkin and melons to kind of house the melon and pumpkin farm. I never built automatic farms until later seasons. So when I wanted to collect pumpkins and melons, I just would set up the little, the regular manual farming on the inside in the farmland, and had this idea to just build them out of wool. And I've built these cubes. This was the first time I did that. And then from then on, in later seasons, in upcoming episodes, you'll see it become a recurring theme. What else? Yeah, so we got a little bit of everything, like I said. We got some rare occurrences. Is that a mushroom I see over there? Yeah, we're gonna check that out in a second. Nice little simple water feature fountain here with the flowing water in front of a very interesting. I remember I saw this build on YouTube and wanted to copy it because I thought it was very clever. Alright, moving on, we're going to just take a quick stop at something, my very early attempt at farming, redstone farming. This is actually manual because you got to sit here and flick the lever. It's a pickle farm, but you know, cool little decorations, and actually I used these redstone lamps to light it up at night when the sun goes down. Well, let's check out what's going over here with this mushroom. Do I have it named? I'm sure I do. Mooshie! Oh, what a great name. So I did find on this world a mushroom island and made the effort to bring back a single cow, and I did that and put it on display here. I guess, I don't know whether or not, I mean, it's like a zoo. I mean, it's open air, you know. I'm starting to feel bad for Mooshie now that I'm over here, so I guess maybe we should free Mooshie. What do you think? Maybe we'll do that right at the end. Okay, Mooshie, you just hang in there, okay? All right. And then when I come back, we'll set you free in the outro maybe, or something like that. But that's a quick tour of the starter area. But again, that's not the major build. The major build for me is usually the Dark Castle. There was a Dark Castle before this world, and from this world forward, there always was one. Now, I did say that we were going to go check out where the Elytra contest was, and that's going to be able to showcase one of my major builds on the server. Let's do that right now. Alright, there's a lot going on behind me, and it's not going to take long to explain, but I came up with this crazy lore during the beginning of the season, and it all started just off to the side over there, which I'll visit in a second. But I started building these pyramids in the desert, because this desert was right next to the spawn area, and it was pretty barren and empty. Not that giant iron pyramid, that was somebody else, but I started building these sand pyramids just for the fun of it, starting with the smallest one, and then I said, oh, let's build one of every size until they got big enough to where they were probably too big. And then this was right about the same time when we visited the end, and that's why right next to me here, as you can see above me, I built a replica end city. This is just one of the common structures found in the end cities, and I built that up. Once I got that box full of shulker heads, I said, wait a minute, I can make like these disciples of some cult are coming over here meeting in the temple, and look at them all. They're all staring out the windows and everything. They're all hanging around the outside. These are all filing in because there's probably some secret meeting about to occur. So that I felt was kind of a cool use of like adding to the build itself, but you know, and it's been there ever since. But to kind of look over, let's fly up in the air again in creative mode and take a look at the outside. Look at all these pyramids. So I started off with that one right there, this little tiny one right next to spawn. And then I said, let's build the next one, the next size. All of them are in sequential, larger sizes in terms of diameter until they got to be so big. And the biggest one of the two back here has a beacon when I first was able to acquire a beacon. And that beacon used to be a regular light color, and the big tall guy over here in the background made it turn black. So I also decided, much like the melons and pumpkins, I like building things that are recreations of mobs or structures or blocks or whatever in Minecraft to scale. So this is an Enderman, of course, and I built him off to the side as if he was going to come over and invade the city, or he was attracted to what's going on here by the cultists, or maybe the cultists worshipped him and he's here to deliver the goods. I don't know. But when he arrived is when that beacon turned black to indicate to everyone in the town that something had changed so they could come over here. And when they did, they found this guy very ominously looking out over the city. Well, those are the builds that I made near town and in the starter area. Oh, well, I guess there's one more off to the side. Let's talk about that before we head into the Nether and take a portal to my first destination build on this server. But while I just wanted to go up here and look across, there's so much to see, and there are so many amazing builds by so many amazing community members and shrubs that it would be very difficult to show it all off. But I probably will take a quick little fly through over the area in cinematic mode, going through the city at the end. But for now, let's head over to this last build in the area and then into the Nether tunnels to find my destination build, the Dark Castle. Alright, while we head over to that build, which is the valuables build over here, kind of the flex build we'll say, let's stop by and see if we can get one of those scavenger hunt tickets to see if we can figure out what the next scavenger hunt was supposed to be for whoever might stop by. Push the button, open the chest. It's called Call to Adventure. Who knows what that means? Who knows what it is? I think if I remember right, you actually had to go into Discord as well and link this clue up with a secondary clue to make it easier to find the shulker box in the world that associated with it. So we'll see if we can do that. Probably not, because I don't think that information exists anymore. But if I ever do come across a shulker box that makes sense for Call to Adventure with the receipt inside, boy, am I going to be lucky, and we're going to see what that prize was. But speaking of lucky and what a prize is, let's head over to the flex build. Now, you can see already in the window, we got some enchanted golden apples, we got netherite armor sets, we got enchanted elytra in the background. We also have a sign out front that says the end of season 6 classers valuable modern build with creeper resist. And I had to come back and make that sign with creeper resist because I added lights underneath carpet. The ground is all lit up around here because one of the other players, they were showing off my build to somebody else on their video. And while they were standing here at the front door, a creeper just walked up and blew up half the front entrance. I had to rebuild it all, and that's okay, because that kind of thing happens on the server. We fixed it up, we made more lighting, and now it has creeper resist. But as we go inside, we can see it's all made out of diamond in front. This was literally every diamond I had, I put into the structure for as much as I could. It covered up most of these pillars. And I got all my valuables. I got my Lu Shang's fishing rod. I got my Y question mark. This is a netherite hoe, and the netherite hoe is associated with an advancement that kind of ask yourself, why in the world did I spend netherite on a hoe? And you got to do it. You just have to do it. I got my Spoder Exploder because this thing's enchanted with Bane of Arthropods 5, so it's a one-shot for spiders. And again, I've got 1, 2, 3 full sets of netherite armor, including the one I'm wearing on. So I definitely was a netherite miner in season 1. I got my extra elytra here, and I have the flame tongue, which I think is a sharpness 5 with flame on it, if I remember right. Once I ran out of diamonds, I just built the rest out of every single emerald. Not even every single, I think I had more than this. All the emerald and gold that I possibly had on me. And it's just kind of like a modern boxy glass thing. Like, this is all it is. But I built it on top of the hill here, right off to the corner, right at the end of the season as kind of a show off. And that's what you do sometimes, especially, you know, back at season 1. That was kind of the meta at the time, and that was the build. Alright, now it's time to head through the nether and check out the Dark Castle location. Alright, we're here at the entrance to my portal. It's time to see how good my navigation skills are. So we come out on the other... Oh, look, 6 classers mountain base, so at least I have everything labeled. We got a little respawn anchor there in case anything unfortunate happened. I was really good at putting doors in and using soul speed, obviously. Now our nether path has led us to, you can tell by the theming on the outside of the door, my first Dark Castle. But, well, it's not actually my first Dark Castle. In the, I guess season 0 we'll call it, the one just before this, before it became the official ShrubSMP, I did have a Dark Castle, but it was based on what this design was. And here I am. So now that I've come through the portal, I definitely remember exactly what's going on here. So yeah, you can see I got villagers all over the place, and really, this Dark Castle isn't all that big. And what I did was just made this remote outpost to kind of set up a nearby villager breeding area, which is actually, we'll check that out just before I leave. But honestly, I really just kind of made this themed trading hall and converted it, surrounded it, I guess, as a Dark Castle theme. And I have a little bit of all the different kinds of villagers in here and many librarians, because one of the secrets to the, the early 1.16, 17, 18, 19 era was to get individual librarians and always have enough librarians so that you can get all the enchanting books. And I pretty much did that for the most part with all these guys down here. But as you can see, I mean, there's really not much to it. It's a very small area, compact, not a massive storage system, just enough for what's being built around me, and just some decorations. Let's head outside and see what it looks like from the outside. Now again, I'm in creative mode, so I can quick fly up and take a look from the back. Ah, yes. Oh, I'm giving away the secret over there on the left side, but we'll talk about that guy in a second. Again, Dark Castle means blackstone, and lots of it. So this one, lots of different textures, and all the different kinds of blocks in different patterns. A little bit of texture here on the outside, especially the front. That roof design is pretty common. I used that even up in Season 6, I think Dark Castle had the same type of pattern. Lots of spawn proofing involved there. So by using half slabs and stairs, you're not going to get any monsters spawning on top of your roof, even though I do have that flat beam. 2 towers in the back. That's an interesting design. I don't remember. I guess that, you know, we're right here near the front of the river, so you don't have them out front. Very flat design. Have very few cracked blocks on the inside. Probably could have done with some more texture there. But I certainly do in later seasons. So you always got to start somewhere when you learn how to build. And, you know, very rudimentary. This was a lot for me, even at the case. Especially now, this was probably midpoint in the season by the time I got the materials to start doing this. And you can see on the side, I learned how to do my first... This was the first villager farm that I ever learned how to do automatically, where they farm the crops themselves. And if you use the minecart hopper trick to kind of get them to throw them to the guy in the middle and collect them underneath. First time I learned how to do that, so I built this theme build to do that. You got your animal farms, and that's pretty much it. Before I head over to the red castle, we'll just look, you know, we got the villagers. There was a nearby village. I cleared it out, and we made this, like, multi-directional condo. It's just a single area with a bunch of beds on the inside, so that you can see, I got lots of them. I got all these villagers queued up in case I needed to make more. And especially when you're doing with librarians, because unfortunately, not all the villagers are going to last, because if they don't have the right trades, well, they have to disappear. That's all we're going to say about that. As we move on here to the other island, I thought it would be cool, after building this, let's have this themed bridge that kind of leads to this island. And I made half of this island by hand. I just used the nether brick and the nether blocks themselves, the netherrack, and then of course the nether trees. And I built this cool castle structure. It was the largest structure I had ever built at that point in time, way back when we were doing Season 1. Spoiler alert, it's empty on the inside. I never did get to finish it, as you can see. I did get the outside finished. Got the idea of this... I don't know if the lore was that these guys, you know, were always here, and then maybe this island just appeared here, and the inhabitants were going to be at rival with those in the Dark Castle and the Red Castle. Never really got there, but it was a cool build, and it was a lot of fun to make. And again, I learned a little bit along the way, especially about textures. But that's really it. That's how the Dark Castle theme got started, at least, like I said, except for Season 0, which we keep talking about, but we're never going to be able to see it, because there's not a world download for that one. So this is the first ShrubSMP Season 1, the first world download that was available to Shrubs, and we all got it after the season was over, and now we get to explore it all these years later. So let's head off to a next destination and see what we can do before we wrap things up and head off to Season 2 in the next episode. Well, after I got a chance to take a look around, I realized that I didn't really have any more major builds on this server. This is pretty much it. So as I stand atop my flex build with the overlook of the village behind me, the spawn area, I think the way that we're going to do the outro to this video and prepare ourselves for the next episode, where I'm going to download ShrubSMP Season 2 and prepare to do a tour for that, we're going to do some quick cinematic sweeps of some of the more major and interesting builds by all of the community members, or as many as I can find in the last few moments of this video. And we're going to roll that right now.